Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I would like to welcome everyone to the session, Women's Leadership and Diversity and Global HR Forum 2008. This session is organized under the understanding that leadership of women in STEM, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics is more important than ever in the knowledge society based on science and technology. And also, leadership factors are changing from leading people with a strong charisma to moving people's mind by good communication skills and relations, which is the feminine factors. However, there are so few women leaders in science and technology factors. So we hope that this session will bring together the world's leadership experts in one site, and attendees will have a chance to explore leadership in real life. We are much honored to have two keynote speakers who will deliver the essence of women's leadership in science and technology. Now, I would like to present our first distinguished speaker, Professor Jill Morrison at the University of Southern California. Dr. Morrison is a meteorologist. She's also the vice provost for the graduate program at the University of Southern California, and also directs highly successful vice program. And also, she is editor of one of the distinguished journals in her field. So she is not only a leader, but also nurturing many young women leaders for the next generations. Please welcome Professor Morrison with a big applause.
Thank you very much. What I'd like to do today is talk a little bit about some of the general issues regarding the underrepresentation of women in science and engineering, and also talk specifically about some of the details of the Women in Science and Engineering program at the University of Southern California. And so I'll begin by speaking in general terms about the magnitude of the problem regarding the underrepresentation of women. Shown in this figure is the proportion of women in the science and engineering workforce by broad categories. And what this shows is that this shows data from 1993 up to 1999. And when we look at specific fields, what we see is that in particular in engineering, women are very seriously underrepresented, as in the physical and related sciences, where women comprise about 20% of the workforce. When we look at computer science and math, it's a little bit better, but still only 30%. When we start to look at life sciences, the medicine and biology, we see that there are more women in the workforce. But the largest representation of women are in the social sciences. And certainly throughout the world and in the United States as well, we hope to see better representation of women in what we call the hard sciences and engineering, in reality the detailed STEM fields. So women remain rather seriously underrepresented in the workforce. And because the training of talent for science and engineering in particular requires graduate education, we want to look towards research universities to try to understand the origin of the underrepresentation of women. And I wanted to touch briefly on a very important study that was conducted at the MIT in the United States, and it was published in 1999, and the title was A Study of the Status of Women Faculty in Science. And this was an extremely important study which documented that in many small ways, women at MIT were subjected to small biases. And although the historical prevalence of outright discrimination was no longer present, there were a number of subtle and unconscious biases that were negatively affecting women. And I think what's important here in this figure is it illustrates the percentage of women faculty in the School of Science with 100% here and 0 over the course of approximately 10 years. And what you see is that line is absolutely flat. And I think people have had the expectation that once the overt barriers to women's participation in higher education had been removed, that these numbers would rather rapidly increase. But that was not what was observed. And so this study in 1999 was really a clarion call to the problems associated with the underrepresentation of women in science and engineering. When we look at the causes of the underrepresentation of women, there are really a variety of factors that likely contribute to this problem. And what I'd like to do from here on is focus my remarks largely on large research universities and our understanding about this issue with regard to large research universities. But there are really a variety of factors that contribute to this. One is cultural and societal conditions. When we look at how we all treat our children, we tend to impart upon children of different genders different expectations. A second category that I just referred to is subtle biases in academic settings, where we have processes or procedures that, while not intentionally, but rather unintentionally, have disproportionately negative effects on women. And what I'd like to do is I'll give one specific example and illustrate this phenomenon in a moment. Another issue that we know is important is that oftentimes a disproportionate amount of family responsibilities fall more towards women than to men. And in an academic career, when the years when a scientist or engineer is working towards tenure, those tend to be the same years in which you would logically be having young children. And so the competing demands on a woman's time are really extraordinary. And then finally, there are a series of issues that are related to institutional culture and climate. What is the nature of being a woman scientist or engineer at a university? And are the climate and the culture things that encourage and reward women, or do they discourage and turn women away from pursuing this line of work? What I'd like to do, again, is give you one specific example of the second factor that I touched on. And I'm really just going to talk about in very simple terms, a study that is termed the Swedish postdoc study. And it's a report that was published in Nature by Linares and Wold. And what they did was to look in detail at the process of application and award for the Swedish Medical Research Council postdoctoral fellowships. These are very prestigious fellowships. And in the 1990s, it was recognized that women were receiving far less fellowships than men were. And so the authors undertook a very detailed assessment of the data that led the committee to make awards of these fellowships. And they found some very interesting results. What the authors did was they were given unprecedented access to all of the data that the scientific reviewers had when the committee awarded the fellowships. And so the authors went through and objectively quantified performance of all the applicants. And they looked specifically at 4 criteria: total number of publications, first authorship, prestige and impact of the journal, and frequency of paper citation. So they did a very careful, again, objective analysis of how much all the applicants were producing. And they also had available to them the scores that the panelists had awarded to this same group of grant applicants. And the data that result from that study are shown here. And so the total impact is the score that each applicant was given on those 4 objective criteria. And so the total impact ranged from 0 to 19 to over 100. And then the score that each applicant was given by the committee is shown on this axis. And so what this data reveals, and so men scores, the total impact, and then the scores they were given by the committee are shown in red for men and shown in blue for women. And so what this shows is that, for example, women who had an impact of 0 to 19 were given a lower score. They were given on average a score of 2.1, whereas men with the same impact factor were given a higher score. And then if we follow this out, what we see is that the most highly rated applicants, who were men, received scores about 2.8, but they had the same impact as women who received a score of 2.4. And so this is very compelling evidence that the process of peer evaluation is not entirely independent of gender. And we joke in the United States that it's the old saying that your mother said you had to be twice as good as a man to be considered equal, and this shows that in terms of this data, that's just about true. And so in summary, what this study showed is that women scored lower than men despite the fact they had the same productivity. And in fact, the most productive group of women was judged to be as competent. For example, the most productive women were only judged to be about as competent as the least productive group of men. So these findings are I think, extremely important. And so the peer review system in this medical research council assessment, what this data shows is that there is bias, again, a small bias, but bias nonetheless. Another part of the study showed that nepotism, meaning the academic group from which you came, that the review process does also tend to favor people whose professors are known to them. Based on these results, I think it's fair to question, are other review processes, do they have similar questions? And so we have to be careful when we look at our processes of evaluation and assessment, because this careful review of the awarding of these postdocs in Sweden showed that there were subtle but nonetheless important biases. So the recommendation that came out of this is that we have to have systems that don't allow our unconscious prejudice to enter into the assessment of scientists and engineers. So that's one example of the 4 broad categories of issues that I laid out as causes for the underrepresentation of women. And I think it's valuable because it is a quantitative and careful assessment that has, I think, fairly straightforward findings. But what I'd like to do now is switch gears a little bit and tell you a little bit about our program at the University of Southern California, which is a large private research university in Los Angeles. And about 10 years ago, we recognized that women were severely underrepresented in our School of Engineering and in Sciences and Mathematics. And we were fortunate that year to receive a gift from a donor, a woman who wanted to help change the situation. And so she gave a large gift to the university, and we were able to launch the Women in Science and Engineering program. And it's a program that's designed to help women at every junction of their academic career. So we have programs for students and faculty across a wide range of activities that are really meant to help women stay in the academic pipeline, from their undergraduate careers through to being tenured full professors in leadership positions. So the program was funded by a gift of $20 million to the university, for which we are grateful. And the program is run out of the provost's office. And so we have the full leadership support of the president of the university and the provost. The primary goal of the WISE program at USC is to increase the number of women in tenured and tenure-track faculty positions. And so we've devoted most of our effort to finding ways to make sure that we do a better job of identifying and hiring outstanding women scientists and engineers. When we began the program in 2000, there were a total of just 15 women on the tenured and tenure-track faculty in science and engineering at USC, which was a total of about 350 faculty members. So we had very, very few women. And after 8 years, we have more than doubled the number of women on the tenured and tenure-track faculty. So we've made great strides. I want to just talk briefly about a couple of the programs that we offer. They're unique to our program, but I think there are a lot of important lessons that people at other universities might be able to adopt. One of the things we do with our resources is we help the dean, when an outstanding female candidate has been identified, we can provide additional resources to the dean that helps make the hire easier. And we don't make financial contributions unless a person has been identified that is the first choice of the faculty, and that's a really critical aspect. We have support that we offer to women faculty on an annual basis. If, for a variety of different aspects, we can provide bridge funding if a woman has had a grant that wasn't funded or a special need, so we provide that kind of funding. We have a named chair, and we do a variety of things to help women through what tend to be difficult times in their careers. We also have a number of programs that support postdoctoral scholars and students. We have fellowships that are particularly designed for postdocs. We hope to help bring excellent postdocs to USC. We provide some funding for PhD students. One of the important things that we do is our PhD Merit Fellowship. It's not very much money, but it's a process in which we ask the programs to nominate their outstanding women students to the program, and then through a competitive process we make an award. And this accomplishes a couple of things. One, it requires the faculty to think about, well, who are our excellent women scientists and engineers? So it gets them thinking. And then when we make an award, we've heard back from the students that it made a tremendous difference. And this is usually done at a very difficult time during the PhD or in year 4 or 5, and it's taken a long time. And the people who've received these have said that it was very valuable, and the support and recognition were really critical to them continuing to excel at their work. We provide not a lot of money, but some money to help students attend conferences. Obviously, attending conferences is a critical part of the development of a professional career, and we provide some help for that. And then finally, one of the most important barriers is the difficulty of balancing family and career. And as I mentioned at the beginning, the timing of the tenure track is the time in a career when the most significant demands are placed in terms of time and productivity. And those years tend to coincide with the years in which a woman is most likely to be having small children. And so we provide a number of different lines of support in order to help make that easier and try to remove some of the barriers that this presents. Child care is extremely expensive, and sometimes that can derail particularly a grad student, so we can provide some support for that. When a student or a postdoc is pregnant during the course of their PhD work or their postdoc, we can also provide some funding to help with that. We also have programs to support faculty when pregnancy or adoption is involved, and although the specific examples I've given involve providing resources, and that's certainly very important, in many ways the aspect that is most important is that we have a university program that addresses these issues. So it brings the issue of pregnancy, childbirth, and becoming a parent into the professional discussion. And oftentimes what we hear is that students and young faculty are hesitant to tell anyone for fear that it will interfere with their study or that they'll be judged to be not serious. And so by having a university level program that acknowledges and in fact tries to affirm that there are going to be scientists and engineers and scholars who are also going to be parents, it has provided a great deal of support at a really critical time. And then finally, why do these things work? And we're having quite a bit of success at our university. There are other universities who have excellent WISE programs as well, and we'll hear more about those. When we help with hiring, we don't have special tracks for women. When a program has to identify an outstanding person who is their first choice, and if that person is a woman, then we can contribute. So we don't create any special hiring opportunities. We just provide resources when the program has identified their first choice, and that turns out to be a woman. In our program, we provide matching funds. We don't take on the sole costs for any program, because the responsibility for hiring for the deans of the departments is to hire people of both genders, and so we simply make that a little bit easier. Men are in fact entitled to apply for all of our programs, provided they can give us a justification for how those efforts will help increase the representation of women. And we have a variety of faculty, men and women alike, who are involved in our program and who are very supportive. And then finally, we have the full support of our senior administration, and that's really critical because they recognize that excellence in science and engineering really requires that we have the full participation of both women and men. And to have anything less than that means that we have procedures and policies that are preventing us from taking advantage of the full range of talent that we have. Thank you very much.
For your wonderful speech based on your own experience and good research data. It's kind of nice and maybe fortunate even that we found that we share the same challenges in Korea and US, maybe elsewhere in the world, regarding the empowering the women in STEM fields. We hope to solve the problems and challenges together, sharing our own experiences in different nations. Thank you again, and Now I'd like to introduce our next distinguished speaker, Sim Yoon. She is one of the very few women leaders in business sectors in Korea. She's the Vice President of Samsung SDS Incubation Center, and she has some successful experiences in development of IT service business. Please give her a big hand.
Hello, I'm Shin Yoon from Samsung SDS. Today I would like to share with you our company's women empowering policy in the enterprise point of view. But before going to start my presentation, I'd like to introduce about my company briefly. So our company is IT services company. It means that our majority of employees are building computer systems for our customers that are enterprises or government. And then after building or implementing the computer system, we could do also the operation of the computer system. It means that the customers could outsource our company for their computer systems operation. So majority of our employees are doing computer programming and computer infrastructure operation and computer systems and business consultancy. Okay, that's our company's main business area. So my story is that first I would like to share with you some of statistics about women workforce in our company, and then we try to understand what are their difficulties and ambitions. And then based on this understanding, I will show you about some of our policies to empower women workforce in our company. So let's see about women share in our workforce. We have more than 8,000 employees, and among 8,000 employees, we have about 1,700 women workers, and they are mainly 96% of women workforce are college graduate or higher, and this is the largest share in the industry. And we have also historical statistics about women employment. So you can see that compared to 1999, 2008, we had very continued increase in the women workers, numbers of women workers. And even the portion is maybe 4 or 5 years ago, the portion is just 15%, but now it's 20%. But you can notify that the numbers are increased because of the new entry, new recruits. So we have 5 levels of position. So engineer level is very fresh level of entry point. So the numbers of new recruits are very high. But we could recognize also that this is very important. This is principal deputy and principal level. So this is, in Korean, is 부장 level. So it means that they could be the potential pipeline, potential tool for the more higher leadership. It means that they could go to the executive level. So the numbers of the principal deputy and principal levels are very big compared to this time. They have just less than 10, but now we have around 100 people. And we have also an interesting statistics. We gathered some of the women statistics. So we define average SS woman type. So this is with the numbers of the various kinds of areas. So average SS woman, she has 29 years old, and they are engineer position. This is entry points, and college grade academic level, and marital status are mainly 67% are single, and we have also 115 office couples, and they are mainly work in Seoul metropolitan area. And we have also the women managers portion is 11%, and among working moms, the rate 21% of employees are having children. So these women, what makes them suffer and what they want to be? So we will see that. So we had a survey for assist women assist women managers. So the question was, what are the difficulties they are encountering in everyday life as a female manager? So the highest ranking was lack of networking, and the second and third is very practical issues for working moms, is work-life balance and pregnancy and childcare issues, and also lack of self-development is also highest ranked. And if we see a little bit more detail, they explained that as an IT services company, we have also always the due date for delivering our products or delivering our services to our customers. So we have sometimes excessive workload, and also we could have an unexpected overtime. So it makes them very difficult for working moms. And also they are notified that they are usually alienated from advanced information loop. It means that because of the informal group of conversation group for just male workers, for example, when they are smoking or when they are drinking, they do a lot of informal conversation, and they are a little bit alienated from that kind of information loop. And also they feel that female leaders are still believed to be inferior to their male counterparts. The cause of this could be several aspects, but we could see that maybe they think that women leaders are lack of gathering people or gathering team building, or it could be related to the lack of networking or lack of self-development that I will talk later. But they have ambitions. We see the three stages of promotion level. So first step is adaptation level. So in this stage, they just desire for survival. After that, in the second stage, they desire for settlement. And after that, the third stage is they desire for growth. So this is just for mainly for senior management group. So as more women join the ranks of manager and leader, they desire not just for survival, but they desire for career development, and they want to go up higher. So we realize that we need to support them, we need to give them more opportunity or more support for these needs of female leaders. And we have also another survey. So the question was what capabilities they want to acquire if we give them the leadership program, for example. The first ranking was strategic thinking, including macro perspective and business insights, and human networking building and management, and price management, and business relationship management, and corporate cooperation. So you can feel that they want to have more broader perspective and broader thinking type of ability, and they want to have also more broader type of networking capability and business relationship management capability. So we will see later that we have women leadership course. So we had to support with role models, and we had to provide mentoring or leadership development programs for these kind of requirements. Okay, now we understood our women workers' difficulties and ambitions. So based on this understanding, we have some policies to empower women. So we have three directions. So first, how we could retain and how we could promote that women workforce. So this is leadership enhancement as direction. So in this category, we include various kinds of leadership program. And the second direction is how we do more employment opportunity and give equal opportunity. So for this, we manage the Samsung Women Index, that is strategic diversity key performance indicator. And the third one is work-life balance support. So this is to build a women-friendly culture for higher performance platform in the company. So we have a lot of programs and policies, but among them I will mention here just 7 of them. So in first direction, so for retaining and promotion, we have Women Leadership Program. So the title is Leadership Co-workers, and this is training program for middle managers in the second and third in their management career. So this program helps them to develop leadership and management skills. And we do also annual Women Workforce Conference. So in this forum, female workers can discuss their work and private life. So we do some kind of lectures and panel and free discussion sessions, and we could provide to share their solutions about their difficulties and also for their personal and professional issues. And we found also that this kind of conference is very good to support women workforce networking. Inter-women workforce networking is very important, and this is very good for that kind of networking practices. And for second direction, for more and equal opportunities, we are managing Samsung Women Index. So we have 4 category areas. So first one is employment. So women's share among new recruits, we are managing that. So I'm sure that this year, I think the new recruits percent is 40%. So 40 employees among hundreds are women for new recruits. And for enabling category, we are managing manager position promotion rates and women's share in core training program participation. We have, for example, SLP. This is Samsung Leadership Program. So this is like the special leadership program for high potential leadership pipeline pool. So we are managing the number of women workforce to having this kind of opportunity. And we have also MBA course and regional experts. So they are going to overseas and living there 1 or 2 years. And this kind of program also we are trying to send the women workforce. And the third one is deployment. So for that we are managing women's share in the core talent group. And also we are managing women's share among key position holders. And of course we are managing attrition rates. And we have Women Council. It's established in 2001, and this is corporate level hearing organization to capture challenges and issues of women employees. So they are helping the development of women workforce empowerment program, and also they help problem solving, and also they help to having some kind of networking. And we have 12 council members delegated from each division, because as an SI company, IT services company, we have 3 office buildings, but we have also hundreds of customer sites that employees are working in the whole country. So we have every division, we have the council members. And the third direction is work-life balance support. We are operating online community called sdswomen.com. This is online community for female workers since 2002. And in this community we share and discuss work-related issues, and 1,700 registered members are there, and every day 300 users are logging in. And some of community managers are here. So living as a career woman in Korea, men from Mars, women from Venus, where in this section we could discuss about men and women issues, and mom and baby. We have cyber mentoring. So in this mentoring, we are doing also offline mentoring, but in cyber mentoring we have more than 60 people, more than 30 mentors and 30 mentees. So they are coupling, they are coupled, so they are doing the cyber counseling by online in this community section. And very practical issues for working moms, childcare and maternity protection. We have corporate childcare centers. As I mentioned, we have 3 office buildings. For each office building, we have childcare centers. And also one in downtown Seoul, we have Samsung Childcare. This is more larger care center for Samsung sister companies. And for maternity protection, we have nursing rooms. So one dedicated nursing room in all 3 corporate buildings. And recently we are doing also maternity protection request system. This is if an employee can register her pregnancy on the system so that they could receive maternity protection support, special care. So when they register, their boss and their organization, their HR managers are notifying that she's pregnant and they could have special care. The last one is flexible working. So we are providing various programs to provide a family-friendly work environment. The first thing is a home working program. We have several women employees who are working at home. And we are allowing flexible time. You know that working moms are very, very busy in the morning time, especially. So instead of going to the work at 9 or 8, they could go to work at 9 or 10. The third one is workplace with children. This is child accompanying program. This is very experimental, but it's working very well. I think we rented an apartment, so this is like an office. But we renovated these apartments by dividing the workplace and childcare spaces. So moms are coming to the office by their children, and they work in their workplace, and their child are playing or studying something by caring by an assistant. Okay, that's it. So we are doing various kinds of efforts, but we fully understand that the 20% of women workforce share is not very high, and we understand also that it could take time because the entry point recruits, if they go up higher, it takes more than 10 years. But we believe that we do this kind of efforts not for the gender equality issues, but for our corporate enterprise growth performance. Okay, thank you.
For your insightful and informative speech. For the leadership of women, based on your experience. Now we move to the panel discussions. So I would like to introduce 2 panelists, Dr. Yang-Suk Yu and Gong-Ju-Bok Lee. Dr. Yu is first woman director of the Life Science Research Division at KIST, Korea Institute of Science and Technology. Last week, she received the most prestigious award for women scientists, Amore Pacific Science Award for outstanding contributions and leadership. She is one of the leading scientists in biotechnology. And our next panelist, Director Gong-Ju-Bok Lee, is Director of National Institute for Supporting Women in Science and Technology. She developed a core leadership program for women in STEM fields recently. And also, she is a professor of physics at Ewha Women's University, and she showed her leadership as president of University Faculty Council. And also, I must add that Dr. Lee was awarded the Best Teacher Award for twice, in 2001 and 2003, which is very difficult to be selected. So just to save the time for our question.
Thank you, Professor Lee. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Young-Sik Yu, and I'm working in the government-funded research organization named Korea Institute of Science and Technology. We call it KIST. And I'm in charge of Director of Life Science Research Division of KIST, as Professor Lee introduced. I'm very glad to be here in this memorable moment, and it is my privilege to express my opinion in this wonderful forum. And I truly thank the organizing committee for their efforts to open this Women's Leadership in Diversity session. I'm very impressed for both talks by Dr. Jim Morrison and Dr. Yoon, the Vice President of Samsung SDS in this session. Especially the case of Samsung SDS encouraged me a lot as a woman scientist in Korea. Although she said 20% of a woman is not that high, I agree. But still, their efforts and their lots of programs to, improve those imbalance is really, I really admire that efforts. And I can say that I can tell my students to recommend to go to Samsung SDS for sure in the future. Before I make comments or questions to the speakers, I'd better briefly talk about my institution because Dr. Jim Morrison talked about the academy, although it's from the United States, and Dr. Yoon introduced her company, industry section. So the Korea Institute of Science is a government-funded research organization that I mentioned earlier. I'm going to introduce the current situation and problems regarding the distribution of women scientists and engineers. That will be in terms of position levels and age levels of women in my institution. If I can see the first slide. If you look at the percentage of a woman, can I have the next one? The pink bar represents the woman percentage out of total employee in KIST. That quite dramatically increased from 6.4% in 1998 to 13.3% in 2008, more than doubled during the last 10 years. This 13.3% is a little bit higher than the average for the other government-funded research organization, that is 12.8%. However, if you look at in detail, you will easily notice that the slopes of increase are different upon the position level. Those it's hard to see over here. The green and kind of yellow as a junior and senior groups were increased a lot, as you can see, compared to the PI level, the green-yellow. That's the slope for that green-yellow, that's a PI level was not that great. Moreover, if you look at the position the leader group, such as head of the center or director of the division like myself, it was even worse. The curve shows that from 0 to 4.9%. Until the year of 2004, during the last 40 years of history of KIST, there was no woman positioned the leader at all. In the year of 2004, only one center head was appointed. In 2006, one center head plus one division director were appointed. That record is up until June of this year. there was only 2 women are in the position leader group. That was 4.9%, and luckily, July this year, 1 more woman center head was appointed. So I think the percentage might be 6-point-something% or so. On the other hand, if we look at the situation for the part-time temporary employee, almost 3 times higher than the full-time permanent employee. That means 34% of part-time employees are women scientists and engineers. One thing that I'd better mention that our institution composed not only for the life science field, many women scientists are involved, but also there are some material science or mechanical engineering and so on. So that area, there's no woman engineers are there. So the percentage of 34% is quite high for the part-time compared to the 13.3% of full-time permanent employee. Now the next slide shows the distribution pattern of the age group of women. Can I have the next slide? Okay. These 20s, 30s, and 40s, and 50s, and 60s. 60s or 50s are not changed much, but that's one of the nice thing of our institution is that the younger generation, 20s and 30s and 40s, are getting increased quite a lot. Now, from March of 2006, Korean government is operating recruitment target system as an affirmative action to fix the women employments. Their recommendations to public R&D sector is to recruit at least 30% or 25% of women. Now, I'd like to ask 2 questions to Dr. Yoon. As a woman leader in private R&D sector, what is your opinion about this recruitment target system as an affirmative action, like kind of compulsive action? And the second question is, are there any ideas to redistribute women scientists and part-time temporary positions in academic and public sectors to the private sectors? Any necessary skills or tips for that? And one question to Dr. Jane Morrison. In the United States, what is the recommended percentage of women for affirmative action?
After the discussion by Director Hong-Joo Lee.
Good afternoon. Thank you for the nice presentations, and also thank you to the Director Yu. And actually, I have several questions to share in this forum. But before asking those questions, I'd like to mention about the representation of female scientists and engineers in Korea. This is the ratio of female graduates in SNT. As you can see, the ratios of female masters and doctors are continuously increasing, even though the ratio of female bachelors is not increasing. And the employment ratio of female bachelors just after graduation is increasing significantly since 2004. However, the economic activity participation rate of women scientists shows an inclined M curve, indicating career interruption, probably due to marriage and giving of birth,
for child care. Though it is quite optimistic that recently the participation rate tends to increase slightly. But if we compare to the men's participation rate, women, not only in SNT, but also non-SNT fields are very much underrepresented. As it is clear that representing the woman resources properly is an urgent matter for Korea to grow economically further. Another typical feature of a woman representation is a well-known leaky pipeline. Our case is not exceptional at all. As you can see, the rate of women scientists decreased from lower position to higher position dramatically. And in every sector, such as academia, and this is a public R&D sector, and this is the private sector. You can see in the private sector, the average of a researcher, the beginners, is only 14.9. So in case of Samsung SBS, it has more than 20%, is really a lot higher than average. And also, you can see the executive position, there's a less than 1 point. She's the one. There's a whole contribution there. Now, I come to my question. Actually, I would like to ask a lot of questions, but you can pick it up as you wish. So, it is really amazing that Samsung SDS female workforce make up about 20% of the total employment, and more than 40%, actually 43% of new employees last year were women. For equal opportunity between men and women, Samsung SDS has tried to improve women's status in company through various policies. So my questions are, how much does Samsung expect to make a net profit, okay, on hiring and empowering more women? I think, I guess you have that kind of expectation about the profit. And, second one is there any negative feedback from men when the Woman Leaders Program was introduced in Samsung? And what is the main difference of the program from the typical Leaders Program? And other things may be too general, but what is the weakest and strongest points of women scientists as leaders? And what is the most effective support from government? And next one is maybe I can ask to the Professor Morrison or to also the, Dr. Yun. Recently, the U.S. Department of Labor estimates that today the learners will have 10 to 14 jobs by age 38. The top 10 jobs that will be in demand in 2010 did not exist 2004. This means that we are currently preparing students for jobs that do not yet exist. Okay? And related to this one, is it meaningful to distinguish jobs, future jobs, into gender type? If then, which jobs are best for women scientists in the future? But does and will do the attrition rate correlate with the gender? And what is the most important skill to success in this kind of uncertain future as women scientists and engineers? Okay, so as you wish, you can pick up the questions and give some answers.
Well, thank you. Well, it's very nice to have this web-period panelist. So you have any questions? Yeah. We do have, I think, to discuss.
Yeah. Difficult questions, and I'd like to try to answer in Korean. So sorry for the foreign English speakers. 아마 첫 번째 질문이 그 리타이먼트 타겟 시스템에 대한 거셨는데, 지금 20% 정도로 하시는 거고, 저희 이제 사실 목표가 항상 좀 변하거든요. 40%로 딱 정해진 건 아닌데, 근데 저희들이 지금 저희가 신입사원을 채용을 할 때 보면은 실제로 면접을 한 3단계를 합니다. 그러니까 서류를 심사를 하고, 그 다음에 무슨 테스트를 보고, 그 다음에 이제 면접만 3가지를 합니다. 토론을 하고, 그리고 프리젠테이션을 하고, 그 다음에 이제 인성 면접, 이젝티브들한테 앞에서 면접을 합니다. 근데 그 면접을 가면은 저희들이 이제 그냥 뽑으면 굉장히 여성 지원자들을 더 많이 뽑게 돼요. 그래서 이제 저희가 이제 사전에 인터뷰하는 분들한테 이제 교육을 저는 이제 봤는데, 제가 여자지만 이제 남자 임원들하고 같이 갔는데, 저희한테 주의하는 말씀이 워낙 여자분들이 커뮤니케이션도 잘하고 인터뷰를 잘하기 때문에 그런 이제 후광 효과에 좀 하지 말고 정말 너랑 일할 사람을 뽑아라 이러면서 좀 그런 설명을 안 하면 더 많이 뽑힐 수도 있는, 그러니까 이미 지금 젊은 제너레이션들이 회사에 들어오는 어떤 이런 역량이라던가 이런 걸 보면 저희가 굳이 40%라고 이런 타겟을 정하지 않아더라도 그 이상으로 뽑힐 수 있는 역량들이 있고, 그냥 놔둬도 사실은 한 45% 이상도 될 수도 있습니다. 그래서 오히려 요즘은 조금 면접에서 그런 걸 좀 감안해서 점수를 주라고 얘기할 정도이기 때문에 저희들은 예를 들면 40%라고 해서 그게 결코 높다고는 생각을 안 하고, 또 이제 그래도 계속 말씀을 하셨지만은 가면서 한 5년, 3년 정도에서 5년 지났을 때 또 약간 좀 나가고 그 리텐션율이 아무래도 좀 적기 때문에 파워 포지션으로 갈 때랑 생각하면 리타이먼트 타겟은 결코 저희들은 높지 않다고 생각을 합니다. 그 다음에 두 번째 질문이 너무 어려워서 제가 잘 이해를 못했는데요. 파트타임 일하는 사람들을 어떻게 다시 채용하고 리디스트리뷰션 하는 것들 말씀하시는 거예요?
아카데미아나 퍼블릭 섹터, 저희가 거버먼트 인스티튜트 같은 데는 TO가 굉장히 제한이 되어 있기 때문에 더 파트타임 인플로이먼트가 굉장히 많거든요. 이제 그런 사람들이 2년 이상, 요새 또 노동법 때문에 2년 이상을 못 입고 나가야 되는데, 그러면 어디로 가겠어요? 그러니까 결국은 또 이제 여기저기 찾다 보면 많은 경우에 이제 컴퍼니나 이런 프라이빗 섹터로 가게 되는데, 그런 거에 대한 질문이었었어요. 이제 전무님께서 보시기에 이런 포텐셜 워크포스들이 컴퍼니로 가려면 어떤 그런 자격이나 뭘 준비를 해야 되는지, 그런 거에 대한
네, 제가 전무가 아니고 상무고요. 저희가 이제 사실은 8,000명이지만은 실제로 저희가 이제 시스템을 개발하고 프로젝트를 하나를 하면은, 그러니까 실제로 저희랑 같이 일하는 사람들은 8,000명 곱하기 3배 정도 됩니다. 즉 뭐냐면 저희 회사가 프로젝트를 하나를 100명짜리를 한다. 그러면 저희 회사 사람들이 한 30명에서 40명, 그 다음에 한 50명에서 한 60명, 70명 정도는 저희가 파트너링 하는 회사의 사람들로 합니다. 그렇기도 하고, 또는 그런 프리랜서라고 하나 이제 그런 분들도 같이 이제 그 프로젝트를 통해서 활용을 하기 때문에, 그러니까 그런 기회는 굉장히 많다고 보이시는데, 이제 만약에 이제 리서치 쪽에서 하는 거, 이제 저희 회사만 보자면 이제 리서치 쪽에서 한다 그러면 저희 R&D 센터의 어떤 특별한 리서치에 관련된 역량이라든가 어떤 개발 역량이라든가 이런 것들이 좀 필요할 것 같고요. 근데 저희가 이제 아무래도 시스템 개발을 하고 이러다 보니까 이제 그런 분들이 재취업을 하거나 이렇게 갈 때 뭔가 요즘 새로 나오는 신기술 또는 새로운 예를 들면 프로그래밍 스킬이나 이런 거, 아니면 좀 더 특화되면, 예를 들면 저희 회사 같은 경우는 특별히 무슨 디자인을 한다, 아니면 컴퓨터 쪽 관련된 테스팅을 한다. 그러니까 좀 스페시픽하게 자기가 그런 분야에 자격증을 가진다거나 아니면 그런 분야에 특화되게 좀 뭔가 기술을 가지고 있다면은 훨씬 저희가 이제 채용 그런 특별한 프로젝트 베이스로 저희가 많이 움직이기 때문에 그렇게 채용을 할 수 있는 그런 가능성도 좀 있을 것 같습니다. 네, 그다음 질문하신 것도 계속 대답할까요?
Yeah, I can answer the question about do we have targets and what is the goal. We do not have a specific percentage of women that we aim for. However, what we look closely at, so we don't have a quota in terms of what the ideal number of or percentage of women faculty would be. However, we look very closely at how the number of assistant professors compares in percentage terms to the percentage of women who are receiving PhD degrees. So while we don't have a strict quota about the number, we're very careful to make sure that given the new PhDs that are available, and the percentage varies from field to field. So in computer science, it's different from geological science, from math, from biology. So for example, in our biology programs, we have the expectation that in any given year, we would hire 40% of our assistant professors would be women, because when you look at the pool that is available, it's roughly 40% female in the biological sciences. However, when you look in mathematics or physics, where the numbers are more like 15%. So we don't have an explicit quota. However, if there is a program whose hiring is at a lower percentage than the pipeline suggests excellent candidates are available, then we look and ask why we're not hiring at the rate that the pipeline suggests excellent women are available.
네, 저 여러 가지 질문에서 제가 몇 개만 선택을 하겠습니다. 먼저 첫 번째 net profit를 말씀하셨는데, 저희가 여성 인력을 활용을 하면서 저희 회사의 이익을 얼마나 목표로 더 가져가겠다, 사실 그런 숫자는 제가 알고 있는 한은 없습니다. 단 이제 저희가 이제 물론 CEO부터 굉장히 그 여성에 대한 활용을 강조하는 이유가, 저희 회사가 사실은 이제 쭉 계속 지속적으로 성장을 해오는데, 그 여성 인력이 들어가서 역할을 해내고 어떤 사업을 수익으로 이끌어내고, 그 다음에 어떤 새로운 수주, 그러니까 딜을 우인해오는 그런 어떤 역량이라든가 그런 것들이 굉장히 강하기 때문에 전반적으로 저희 회사가 계속 지속적으로 성장을 해나가고 하기 위해서 반드시 필요한 포스라고 인정을 하고 있고요. 예를 들면은 저희가 하는 게 컨설팅이라는 거 있고, 그러니까 컨설팅이라는 작업 자체가 고객한테 가서 설득을 하고, 그 다음에 이제 그 고객을 잘 리딩을 해나가고 이제 이래야 되는 건데, 그런 부분에서 여성들이 굉장히 많은 역량들을 발휘하고 있고, 또 프로젝트를 하나를 딱 책임 맡아서 하는 그런 프로젝트 매니지먼트 역할도 여성들이 굉장히 잘 해낼 수 있는 분야이기 때문에, 그런 걸 전체적으로 봤을 때 저희 회사의 어떤 프로핏에 큰 기여를 당연히 한다고 보고 있습니다. 근데 이제 숫자로 여성을 활용을 해서 얼마를 더 벌겠다는 건 사실 아직은 목표를 정한 건 없습니다. 그 다음에 두 번째로 그 여성 리더십 프로그램에 남성들이 반대하지 않느냐. 그래서 사실은 저희가 이렇게 막 크게 이렇게 알리면서 하지 않아요. 그래서 남자들이 사실 잘 모릅니다. 근데 그 남성 부서장들은 당연히 압니다. 그러니까 남성 부서장들한테 이제 그 여성 인력이 있으니까 리더십 프로그램에 오라 그러면, 그 남성 부서장들은 왜 남자들은 안 보내고 여자들만 보내니까 이런 얘기를 하십니다. 그러고 이제 남자 사원들이 알면 우리는 왜 그런 거 안 보내주냐, 역차별이 아니냐 이런 얘기도 합니다. 그러고 또 하나는 저희가 이제 요즘은 좀 덜한데, 처음에 여성 리더십 프로그램을 개설을 했을 때는 여성들이 반대를 했습니다. 네, 왜냐하면 왜 남자들은 리더십 프로그램이 없는데 여자들만 특별히 리더십 프로그램을 해야 되는 이유가 뭐냐, 우리가 리더십이 뭐가 부족하다는 거냐, 이런 게 오히려 초반에는 한 몇 년 전에는 여성들이 이 리더십 리더십 프로그램에 대한 어떤 목적이나 이런 것들을 살짝 좀 미스언더스탠딩 하거나 좀 공감이 부족해서 그런 부분이 있었는데, 그런 것들은 이제 지금은 그런 어떤 효과라든가 그들이 굉장히 아주 잘 짜여진 프로그램으로 저희가 3일 정도를 합니다. 뭐 게임도 하고 뭐 리더십 좋은 과정들을 정말 에피스로 듣기 때문에 어떤 그런 효과를 이제 인정을 하고 많이 참여들을 하고 있습니다. 그 다음에 뭐 세 번째로 여성 사이언티스트들의 약점하고 강점을 얘기하셨는데, 뭐 강점이 굉장히 많고, 그러니까 저희가 요즘 많이 고민하는 부분은 이제 주니어 레벨의 인플로이들의 여성은 굉장히 강하죠. 뭐 여러 가지 뭐 저희 하는 일도 보면 뭐 커뮤니케이션도 잘하고, 그다음에 뭐 자기가 맡은 일 너무나 잘 꼼꼼하게 잘 해내고 이런 것들이 굉장히 강한데, 그러니까 약점이 좀 슬슬 나타나는 게 좀 이 레벨이 좀 매니저 레벨로 올라가면서 저희가 항상 이제 저희 어떤 딱 요거의 스펙에 맞는 일 이런 것만 딱 계속하고 내가 하는 일 정말 책임감 있게 잘하다가 이제 매니저 레벨로 올라가면 그러니까 내가 하는 일 외에 조금 더 좀 더 이렇게 위나 옆이나 이렇게 좀 더 넓게 봐야 되는데, 이제 그런 시야를 가져야 되는 필요성도 사실 잘 모르고, 그러니까 몰라서 어떻게 해야 되는지 잘 몰라서 그런 부분에서 조금 약점이라기보다는 좀 더 우리가 많이 기회도 주고 서포트를 해줘야 되는 부분이 아닌가. 그래서 좀 더 넓은 시야를 갖고, 그다음에 또 올라가면서 아까 제가 이제 네트워킹 얘기도 좀 드렸지만은 어떤 다른 조직이나 대하고의 어떤 네트워킹, 뭐 워낙 남자들은 막 이렇게 뭔가 그룹, 뭐 그다음에 이제 회사 내에서도 어떤 뭐 이렇게 프라이빗 서클 같은 것들을 이제 많이 하지 않습니까? 이제 그런 걸 통해서도 그렇고 일들을 막 이렇게 해나가는 반면 이제 여성들이 이제 그런 면에서 조금 더 이렇게 좀 적극적인 그런 네트워킹과, 어차피 위로 매니저 레벨로 올라갈수록 자기가 혼자 하는 일보다는 내가 시켜서 또는 같이 협력해서 일을 성공시켜야 되는 일이 많기 때문에 혼자만 잘해가지고는 이제 안 된다는 거죠. 그래서 매니지먼트 레벨로 올라갈 때의 좀 약점이나 보완해야 될 점은 그런 조금 더 남의 힘을 빌어서 일할 수 있는 능력, 좀 더 넓은 시야, 그런 것들이 좀 필요하다고 보여집니다. 네.
Thank you. Now I would like to invite some questions and comments from the floor to our speakers and panelists. 질문이 있으시면 또는 뭐 커멘트가 있으시면 해주시기 바랍니다. 저희가 10분 늦게 시작했기 때문에 10분을 조금 더 하려고 또 그렇게 해도 된다고 허락을 받았습니다. 네, 여기.
이 발표 잘 들었고요. 글로벌 HR 전략연구소 박창대라고 합니다. 예, 삼성 SDS의 윤신성님께서 질문을 드리겠습니다. 삼성 SDS는 일가 가정의 양립 모범사례로 잘 알려져 있고, 또 일부 중소기업이나 아니면 다른 기업에서 벤치마킹도 많이 하고 있는 걸로 알고 있습니다. 어떤 곳에서는 삼성 SDS 발표하신 내용 중에 회사 내 유치원 타구사라고 그러나요? 유치원 운영하고 계신다고 했는데, 그 제도를 한번 벤치마킹해서 운영을 해봤는데 쉽지 않더라. 일단 안전사고의 문제도 있고, 또 출퇴근을 할 때 애를 데리고 출퇴근해야 되는데 거기에 오는 스트레스, 그리고 또 아예 집에 멀리 떨어져 있으면 생각이 안 나는데 바로 옆에 있다가 보니까 일에 대한 몰입도가 떨어지는 것 같더라. 어떤 그런 얘기가 있었고요. 그래서 그 제도를 어떻게 좀 구체적으로 활용하고 있는지 좀 알려주시면 좋겠고, 그리고 저기 아까 질문에 경영에 대한 성과 기여도가 여성 인력을 충원하면서 기존보다는 꼭 경영적 수치상의 문제뿐만 아니라 좀 조직 문화적으로도 좀 기여가 있는지, 기업에서 그런 좀 목표가 없으면 굳이 그럴 이유가 있겠냐 하는 생각이 드는데, 그에 대한 답변 부탁드리겠습니다.
네.
네, 저는 이비인후과를 하고 있는 장성우라고 합니다. 모유승 교수님께 질문이 두 가지 있습니다. 아까 도표를 봤는데요. 도표에서 다른 이제 과학 분야를 쭉 비교를 하셨는데 여성들이 가장 강점이 뭐 디자인이나 뭐 패션 이쪽은 굉장히 여성들이 진출이 많은데요. 지금 그런 것과 비교해 볼 때 여성들의 선호도가 과학에 대한 선호도가 낮아서 그렇게 나온 건 아닌지 하고요. 이 두 번째는 이 과학 분야에 있어서 여성분들이 이제 나가야 될 방향이 있다고 저는 생각을 합니다. 일례로 그 일본에서 저희 이비인후과 쪽은 그 후각이나 청각, 이 감각기관 쪽에 여성들의 진출이 굉장히 많습니다. 이 과학 분야 중에 여성분들이 어떤 분야로 가면 어떤 목적이나 성취를 이룰 수 있는지에 대해서 고견을 부탁드리겠습니다.
네, 안녕하세요. 신모리슨 선생님께 질문 드리고 싶습니다. 선생님 학교에서 대학원생이나 여성 교수분들이 그 자녀 양육비를 지원하는 거로 아까 발표하셨는데 그 미국 정부에서 지원하는 것도 있을 텐데 YG 프로그램에서 다시 지원하면 혹시 중복 지원되는 건 아닌지 여쭤보고 싶습니다.
질문을 좀 웬만큼 하셨기 때문에 답을 좀 듣고 하겠습니다. Please start.
아까 어린이집 제도 말씀하셨는데 저희가 지금 3개, 4개에 약 한 100여 명 이상 그 엄마와 아이들이 있습니다. 근데 말씀하신 대로 초기에는 참 사실 처음에 시작할 때는 이제 확 했다가 그 다음에 지금 지적하신 대로 여러 가지 아침에 저도 이제 출근하면서 보면 저희는 1층에 있는데 아이들 막 이렇게 졸면서 엄마가 차 태워가지고 이렇게 데리고 나오고 그러면 참 안쓰러워 보이기도 하고 그런 것들. 그 다음에 저희가 이제 일이 좀 늦게 끝나는데 그 어린이집 시간이 초기에는 좀 이렇게 이렇게 일찍 한 6시 정도까지 하면 엄마들이 이제 그때는 또 집에 데려다가 놓고 또 다시 와서 일해야 되고 이런 것들이 참 힘들고 불편했고 그 다음에 여러 가지 또 저희 회사가 아까 그 스태티스틱에서 보셨지만 엄마들이 굉장히 좀 고학력이고 또 기대치도 높고 그래서 그 어떤 어린이집에 대한 퀄리티에 대한 것도 굉장히 요구사항이 많았었습니다. 그래서 넣었다가도 빼고 이런 엄마들도 있고 그래서 그동안 쭉 여러 가지 개선을 해왔습니다. 그래서 예를 들면 저희가 그 어린이집 시간도 저녁 시간을 좀 늦게까지 예를 들면 요일을 정해가지고 어떤 요일은 저녁 때 좀 늦게까지 운영을 한다던가 그런 것도 하고 그 다음에 이제 어린이집 선생님을 저희가 선발하거나 이럴 때도 굉장히 그 여러 가지 퀄리티나 경험이나 이제 이런 걸 봐서 엄마들이 정말 동네 어린이집에 맡기는 것보다 훨씬 더 그 좋은 퀄리티로 어린이들이 할 수 있게 하는 것들이 좋고 그 다음에 아까 몰입도 말씀하셨는데 사실 저희는 이제 그 그러니까 점심시간에 잠깐 가서 보고 올 수도 있고 한데 이제 그것이 그러니까 엄마가 일하는 몰입도도 그렇고 아이를 정말 잘 기르기 위해서 너무나 물리적으로 지금 부족한 시간을 특히 어렸을 때는 정말 엄마와의 더 많은 스킨십과 이런 걸 통해서 아이들이 케어를 받아야 된다고 사실은 믿기 때문에 그러니까 엄마의 몰입도도 오히려 그렇게 되면 초반에는 좀 해이해질 수 있지만 그게 좀 이렇게 습관화가 되면 어떤 루틴화가 되면 그게 오히려 엄마를 안심시키고 불안해하지 않고 이제 그런 요소가 되는 것 같습니다. 그래서 지금은 한 100여 명 정도 잘 운영이 되고 있습니다. 그 다음에 두 번째로 아까 경영성과 기여도 말씀하셨는데 경영성과 기여라는 거를 저희가 이제 목표로 그러니까 어떤 숫자로 어떤 이익을 얼마를 내겠다라는 그런 목표보다는 이제 다른 좀 정성적인 목표 아까 말씀하신 그런 조직 문화에 기여하는 거라든가 이런 거는 당연히 가지고 있습니다. 그리고 저희가 이런 여성 리더십 프로그램 말고 그러니까 새로 부장이 되면 그러니까 프린시팔이 되면 받는 어떤 회사의 교육이 있습니다. 그런데 그런 교육 프로그램, 그러니까 대부분이 남성이죠. 그런 그 교육 프로그램 안에도 그러니까 여성 인력 활용, 그 다이버시티 매니지먼트에 대한 그 세션을 또 강의를 합니다. 그래서 이제 그 새로 된 부장들한테 여성을 어떻게 활용을 해서 할 거냐라는 거를 여러 가지 그런 문화에 대한 변화, 그다음에 새로운 신세대의 문화와의 어떤 공유 이런 걸 통해서 그러니까 리더십 자체에도 지금 새로 나오는 시대에 맞춰서 저희가 리더십의 변화를 많이 주려고 하고 그다음에 조직 문화에도 그런 여러 가지 뭐 예를 들면 회식하는 문화를 좀 바꾼다든지, 그다음에 사실은 저희가 생각하기에는 저희가 너무나 늦게까지 일하고 하지만 사실 그런 게 결코 워크라이프 밸런스를 위해서 좋다고 생각하지 않습니다. 굉장히 우수한 인력들이 들어와서 너무나 힘들게 일을 하니까 너무나 힘들어서 다른 거로 이직을 하고 퇴직을 하는 건 굉장히 사실은 국가적으로도 낭비고 저희 회사로도 낭비이기 때문에 저희가 궁극적으로 추구하는 방향은 정말 9 to 5 일할 수 있는 그런 어떤 스타일, 워크라이프를 가져가는 걸 저희가 목표로 하기 때문에 이제 그런 문화적인 차원에도 여성에 대한 매니저들이나 여성 인력들이 많아지면 그런 문화 자체가 자연스럽게 되는, 그렇게 되지 않을까 기대를 하고 있고 그런 방향으로 지금 가고 있습니다.
Yeah, to answer the question about are there fields that women choose to participate in more so than other fields. I think we do see that women gravitate naturally to certain disciplines more so than others. And while I think that does have to do with some aspects of the content of the work, for example, we see the number of women in biomedical engineering increasing much more quickly than in physics. And I think some element of that is in fact due to preference, and that women who have the skills and the background to go into either one of those fields are more drawn to biomedical engineering. And certainly we see in the biological sciences in the broad sense that women are showing that they are interested in those fields. There's some question about whether that interest in biology, for example, is the result of the fact that there are more women in biology, so they draw more women, and so I think there are questions about, once you have a critical number of women in a field where they can affect the culture and the climate, that field then draws more women. I think that's part of the process. So we need to be sure that all of the STEM disciplines have culture and climate that is hospitable and open to women, so that then choices can be made on the basis of interest in those fields. And then the other question was about the government funding. In the United States, the National Science Foundation has provided significant funding for what's called the ADVANCE program, which is designed to increase the representation of women in science and engineering. And through this program, the government has given grants that range from $2 to $3 to $4 to $5 million over the course of 4 or 5 years to a number of institutions who've applied. The University of Southern California does not have one of, so those grants are given to the institution in support of these kinds of efforts. And at USC, we are fortunate that we have the funding through a private gift. Many of the activities of the ADVANCE program that's funded by the National Science Foundation are very, very similar to our activities. And there are a number of conferences that have been held in the United States over the last few years where faculty at the advanced institutions share best practices. And so we participate in making sure that all the institutions that are involved are learning from one another about what works and what doesn't in trying to increase the representation of women in science and engineering.
We have to close our session. Are there any urgent comments and questions before you leave? Would you please make it short? Last one.
Yeah, I've been very interested to listen to this. My name is Willie Lindsay. I work for a management consulting firm called Hardware. a lot of the comments and discussions were a lot around facilitation for women to be more able to work in organizations, which is fantastic. I would like to invite all the women here. We are just finishing up a leadership assessment study in the United States comparing women in leadership positions versus men in leadership positions and how they differ. And we're now doing the same in Korea, and we are short of women who are in leadership positions and do these assessments. So I would like you to participate in it. If you're a people manager, please participate in this assessment. We have enough assessments on men to make those comparisons, but I would like to have more women in the pool to make a great research study, because I think that's what women need in Korea. One of my foreign friends, he always said that Korea is now the 13th largest economy in the world, which is fantastic, but this is a man-driven society. If the women would be in charge, it would be well into the top 10. And I firmly believe that women have a lot to offer in this country in leadership, but I think we have to kind of prove to our male colleagues around here that women are an important factor to work with. So please accept this invitation. I'll be around and try to exchange some business cards with people who are interested. Thank you.
Yeah. Would you please tell your name and institution again?
Yes, my name is Willy Linse, and the company I work with is called Hardware, like Xinjiang Hardware. But I'll be here, so.
Okay, yeah. After the session, you can talk with. Well, I'd like to extend my biggest thanks to you and all the speakers and panelists and all the wonderful discussions and informative talks. 감사합니다. 그 세션을 빨리 끝내라고 옆에서 독촉을 하시기 때문에 지금 끝내기는 하는데요. 또 말씀하신 플로어에서 말씀해주신 분도 계시고 또 오늘 강연하신 분들이나 그 패널리스트들하고 또 필요한 얘기를 좀 더 하시면 좋겠습니다. 고맙습니다.